here. And I just got off of a broadcast. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I was reading my comments and I decided to come back out because I am under the weather. I think tomorrow is going to be my down day. And so I don't want to leave this hanging in the air. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to address this today and give people the opportunity to speak up because it seems as if there's a lot of people who want to comment on this because this comment has gotten 9 votes up out of only 16 comments on the post, which means that half of the people who commented also saw this comment and wanted to speak on it. So I'm going to give you all the opportunity. The shareable link just became available. So let me go ahead and send this out to the text notification squad. If you're not a part of the TKO text squad, make sure that you join. You get a link whenever I go live, and you never miss a broadcast, especially when I go back to back like this and the platforms don't let people know. All right, let me go ahead and send this out now. And then if you're on the text squad and you haven't been getting your text, let me know and I will get you a link to I'll get you a link on I'm sorry, on Telegram so that you can be able to be a part of our hangout behind the scenes, as well as I told you I'm under the weather, so my brain is not all the way cohesive. Let me put www.tonyatko.com/text. That's a way to join the text notification, right? I'm glad you're bringing this to awareness. I wish YouTube was like this when I was in high school. I really don't know what you mean. So we're going to get into this. I sent out the text. I don't know where my other phone is. Oh, here it is. All right. Text just went out. All right, perfect. It just went out. Let me go ahead and let's get live on these other platforms. Let's get into it. All right. I'm sorry, you all. I just really wanted to address this tonight and not leave this lingering. We're live on Twitch. We're live on Twitter. We're live on Facebook. And we're live on LinkedIn. Welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. I am your host, Tonya TKO. Text notification squad, go ahead and throw up your 1010s. Let me know that you're in the building. I see Beauty Unmatched is in here. Jody is in the house. Hey. Text notification squad. I appreciate you all. We were behind the scenes in some deep conversation today in the Hangout. So if you're a part of the text notification squad and you'd like to be able to communicate with us throughout the day or with other people on the text notification squad, just let me know and I'll send you over the link to the group that we have on Telegram. So listen, let's talk. So we're live on all of these platforms right now. The title of today's video is Black Women, If You Can't Afford to Have a Baby, ... And part of the reason that I'm doing this video is because we just came off of a live where we were talking about this woman in the ghettos of Philadelphia getting beat up by the nurse practitioner at the ghetto ass pregnancy clinic out there in Philly, with 3 children, 4th in her belly, and no man with any type of doggone insurance to carry her ass while she's pregnant. So, it's like, let me calm myself down. Let me calm myself because I really, 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 really want to be able to give people the opportunity. I want to give people the opportunity to be heard so that we can have a conversation about this. What I'm going to do right now is I have the video queued up, right? I have the video that I just finished making queued up. And so we're going to hear the statement that I made that has people in an uproar. Gigi's happy to be on the text. I'm happy you're on the text. Why are you happy to be on the text notification squad? Let the people know. Let the people know. So let's give this a listen. Let's give this a listen. If you can't afford to have a baby, then Then why are you having a baby? That's the statement. If you can't afford to have a baby, why are you having a baby? Why are you having a baby? That's the statement. It's like, listen, I'm I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'll see you all in the next video. Tiny TKO and I'm out. Peace. Throw your boxing gloves. Like the video. Subscribe. Send your apples through. I'll grab them. Faith. Faith I like has this hair color on $10 and says for support. Thank you, Faith. I appreciate the support. The bell is saying close your damn legs. No, I'm not going to say close your legs. We are in 2022. If you want to have intercourse, make sure that you are having the safest intercourse possible. If it is not as safe as it could have been, there are plan Bs. There are options. This is what I'm saying. You know what? It looks like I am is on the broadcast. I am. Why don't you call in so that you and I can have a conversation? Because I really want to hear your point of view on this. I'm going to read your statement and then I want you to call in if you're available. I want you to call in so that I get notified ASAP without any fickle platforms. Oh, that's why you love the text notifications. God, that's wonderful. I love that. So let's continue. I want to hear from you, okay? So BX Bayou is saying she wasn't a black woman though. Yeah, but I'm talking to black women. She could do, look, she has the bed that she has laid in and continue to lay in 4 times over. I said in the title of that video that she was a preference, but I'm talking to black women right now. Look, she got the path that she's going down, but I'm talking to my sisters. So, going full term is a choice. If you can't afford to have a baby, then why? Look, I know people who have gotten, well, I know that DoorDash will deliver plan Bs. I know that. This is what I've heard. So, listen, going full term is a choice. It is a choice. And are we using responsible family planning when we are making that choice? That's all I got to say. What is controversial about that statement? Are we using insurance will pay for you to get your chopped off? I'm out of here. You all done gone too. I jumped off with the wickedness. All right. So let's read the statement. I am came onto the broadcast, onto the comments, and she said, you said something, Tonya, at the end of this live that got me thinking. In response to compassionate care not being supported by insurance, you said if you cannot afford to have kids, you shouldn't have kids. That's not what I said. I didn't say that, but I said, if you can't afford to have a baby, then why are you having a baby? That is a question that each person must ask themselves. Why are you having a baby if you feel, I'm not talking about by anybody else's standard. If you feel that you cannot afford to have a baby, then why are you having a baby? That is a question. All right, so then we go on. You said if you can't afford to have kids, you shouldn't have kids. At first, I agreed, but felt it wrong, so I thought further into it. Every person on this planet experiences being born, and it shouldn't only be the wealthy ones who experience humane treatment and compassion during that experience. Let's break that down. Who is talking about being wealthy? We're talking about being able to afford to have a child in the ways that you want to have a child. If you cannot afford to have a baby, why are you having a baby? You don't have to be wealthy, but if you inside of yourself know that you cannot afford your child, why are you having one? Then she goes on, and in terms of compassionate care, I'll give you that. We deserve compassionate care in this country. When that statement was made, it was made in terms of whether or not insurance would be able to afford a midwife, whether or not insurance would pay for your midwife. If you're having a baby and you know that a midwife is a necessity for you, if you know that a midwife is a necessity for you and you feel that you cannot afford a midwife, how much does a midwife cost? Let's see how much a midwife costs. Let's see. Cost of a midwife. Let's see. The RAS. It says here, the cost of a midwife is $2,000 to $6,000. If you do not have $2,000 to $6,000, if you don't have $2,000 to $6,000 to be able to have a midwife, then if that's what you feel that you need, then I don't know if having a baby is for you, because $2,000 is going to be the least of your concerns. Remember Lady Saw made that song, Mana de least of me problem. Listen, $2,000 is the least of your problems once you bring a new life into this world. So let's going on. Let's go on. She says every person on this planet experiences being born, and nobody on this planet asked to be born. And some people were born into some terrible, terrible circumstances. Just because you got the opportunity to be born doesn't mean that you have to exercise your ability to give birth. Then she goes on and says, furthermore, who are we to dictate who gives birth and who doesn't? You mean we the people who, listen, it is wonderful if a person has paid taxes and then falls on hard times and then needs to apply for government assistance. Yeah, I said it, and I know it's controversial. But government assistance to care for your child should not be your birth planning option, your only birth planning option. Where is the father of the child? It takes two. It takes two to create a human life. Listen, who are we to dictate who gives birth and who doesn't? We cannot dictate who gives birth. But we, the people, the taxpayers, we have a right to give our opinion about people who choose not to contribute into the tax system and then are having and are participating in irresponsible family planning that leads them as tax dollars as their only opportunity to give birth. And I understand, okay, listen, we all want to give back. And the people who fall on hard times, I support supporting people who fall on hard times or who are vulnerable to the system. Having a baby is a choice. In the countries where people have months, where fathers have paternity leave and daycare is covered by tax dollars, in those countries, those people pay about 80% of their wages into taxes. And listen, those people pay about 80% from what it is that I've seen in reports. They pay 60 to 80% of their income into taxes. And therefore, it is the policy of that society for those things to be covered. In our society, those things are not covered. It's not covered by us as a society. So then what is your plan? Who are we to dictate? I think instead, change needs to be brought about in women's healthcare, which is a true statement. Even the wealthiest women have complaints, so we know it's not a money issue. So then, if it's the wealthiest of women, right? Listen, the complaints that the wealthiest of women have are not the same complaints as motherfuckers going to a clinic getting beat up, 8 months pregnant, getting beat up by a Karen who's telling them not to have no more effing kids. Those are not the problems wealthy people have, because from the moment that that woman spoke to her in a way that she didn't want to listen, money is power. Money is power. The reason why wealthy people don't put up with that bullshit is because they have the power to be able to do something about it. They're not calling the police on wealthy people at these crackhead clinics. They're not, or community, let me just call it a community clinic because I don't know what else is going on there. It is not the wealthy people going to these places getting beat up by some crazy Karen's clipboard while you 8 months pregnant and they're screaming out your HIPAA violated information in the waiting room. It's not the wealthy people going through that. Quality over quantity. What are we doing? In the manosphere, listen. In the manosphere, they talk about choosing better, about choosing men who can afford to have children with you. Black women, we need to wisen up. We need to wisen up. What are the choices that we are making? What are the procreative choices that we are making? If Black men are not the most suitable men in society to procreate with, then what do? You make a different choice. How much longer do we sit around having intercourse with people who can't afford kids and we can't afford them either? And then, oopsie, all right, how much is a Plan B? Insurance covers Plan B. If not, the Planned Parenthood would be happy to give your Black ass some Plan B. Ask Margaret Sanger. She's more than happy. Are we wanting to have and bring children into this world by any means necessary, and we don't give a damn how they suffer or whether or not we're even able to properly care for them? How was my statement controversial? How? How was my statement? If you can't afford to have babies, then why are you having babies is the statement. How is that controversial? And I'm not saying don't have kids. What I'm saying is create your family plan. What is the family planning that you're doing? What are the choices and decisions that you're making that you are using your womb? You are using your womb as what? A Play-Doh factory? For bums babies? Oh, let me see what was the response that I sent to her. Plan B is $25? Okay. We're going to grab the apples in a moment. So if you want to send your apple through, after we read my response, after we read my response, we're going to come and grab these apples, right? So here's my response. Let's see what I wrote back. Because I just wrote this response before I went live, right? In present day USA, if a person cannot care for a child, they need to practice responsible family planning and prepare for their bundle of joy. I feel very adamant about this. Quality over quantity. Far too many of us are birthing bums babies, and Uncle Sam is the godpappy. Choose better. Stop with the excuses. If you're adamant about having children and can't afford them here, then go to a country with a lower cost of living. Intercourse creates children. How responsible is it to bring children into a world haphazardly without planning? How is this controversial? I want to know. How is this controversial? And Summer is saying, I have issues with birth control because those medications cause a lot of health issues. For me, charting my temps and understanding my cycle and ovulation worked best for me. Absolutely. Absolutely. Condoms work with proper use 99 point something percent of the time. If you're taking the condom off, turning it inside out and using it again, you might run into some issues. And yes, I have heard about people reusing condoms. I've heard about this. If you're having intercourse with a condom on and he's climaxing and going soft and the condom's slipping off, and if you're not doing it responsibly, then it becomes more risky. So that's my comment. I'm going to open up the phone lines for I am. Did she say that she's going to call in? Because I want to hear from her. I want to talk. Call me and let's see. I want to hear your point of view. All right. Phone lines are open. Come. Isn't this a form of eugenics? No, it isn't. Family planning is not eugenics. Eugenics is saying that the only certain people should be born. Eugenics is saying that people with certain characteristics and features and certain race should be born and other people should not be born. No one is saying that people should not be born. We are saying family plan, be responsible. Condoms are free at the clinics, Rayo says. The phone lines are open. I'm waiting for you. Delilah is saying, is eugenics a bad thing all of the time? Eugenics in its pure form is a form of creating a superior quote unquote race of people based on arbitrary racial characteristics. I'm waiting for the call. While I'm waiting, let's hear. It's so controversial because of Roe versus Wade. The Black community is in a poor state because of people having kids in poor circumstances. It's cruel to bring a child into this world and you're a bum. Can't take care of yourself, let alone a baby. Sad part is the baby pays the price for it. This is true. If what she's saying is eugenics, then what is consistently birthing children into poverty? Oh shit. You know what? Oh my gosh. How deep is that? That we are birthing a consistent underclass of people, that we are not family planning, we're not estate planning, we are not legacy building, we are not generation wealth building, we are building a race of underclass of people who are born into desperate situations with the cards stacked against them. Mitigating factors is what they're called. I have a friend who works for, I'm not going to say where my friend works. I have a friend who works in an area in which I didn't mean to say that, where my friend advocates for people who have ended up in messed up situations. And the other day I learned this phrase, mitigating circumstances. Do you know what mitigating circumstances are? And when my friend started going over who knows what mitigating circumstances are? If there's somebody here who works in a public service field and you know what mitigating circumstances are, and you're able to list 3 mitigating circumstances for us, call us in. The phone number is 323-488-3149. That's the phone number. And while we're waiting for the first call, let me grab these apples. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. I know I look tired and worn out, but bear with me. A, 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 A. All right. Ionia sends $10 and says, watching playback and was too engrossed to Cash App. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you for the apple. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. Basically, Hannah sends 1010 and says, health and wealth, feel better soon. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Glynis sends $30 and says, thank you for showing us to be honest with ourselves. Absolutely. And you know what part of the issue is? I'm going to refresh to make sure that we have all of them. Part of the issue is that there's far too many Black women who feel attacked by this statement because they know that they went into it haphazardly. Listen, we cannot control the past, but we can take accountability and analyze our situation objectively. Can we? I don't want you to blame. I don't want you to feel shame. I don't want you to feel guilt. But, oh my gosh, let me refresh and then I'm going to put the phone number back up because it looks like people have not heard the phone number. Whew, I'm sorry, I'm beat. 323-488-3149. All right. I know someone has 6 kids, all have issues due to born into poverty, generics, and so much more. Even took baths with roaches. What? Oh my gosh, I gotta finish reading that. Even took baths with roaches, but trained kids to lie and clean house only when DCF show up? My Lord. Just because a man can afford a child doesn't mean he'll take care of it. love it, or cherish it. The government says otherwise. If he can afford to have a child, put him on child support and then you'll be all right. You'll be able to have some contributing factor. But it takes two to have a child. It takes two. Oh my God. Now we got comments up on here that need to be blocked. All right. Paying for great care is a part of affording a child. Just birthing people to feed into preschool to prison pipeline. You spoke a word right there. I know kids who lived in cars. Oh, wow. I don't like the creepy, crawly things. I have OCD. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking, healing trauma now, exactly, and it needs to stop. Just because a man can afford a child doesn't mean he'll take care of it, love it, or cherish it. Just because a man can make six figures doesn't mean he'll be good to his wife. Wealth equals power. Wealth doesn't equal love nor character. And as long as we have to use the society's standards for approval, we will continue to be second class. Okay. I said choose better. I didn't say just choose the person with money. Who are we choosing? Who are we laying down with? What choices are we making? Daycare was almost 400 a week in 2016. No telling now. And then when you have multiple children, oh my God, I need, so nobody knows what mitigating factors are. I'll tell you, since nobody has been able to call in. The number is going across the screen. I'll give you a little while longer to call in to talk about mitigating factors. And then I'm going to get out of here because I didn't want to talk too long, and I need to drink water, take some herbal supplements, and then lay down. Please family plan. It'll be detrimental to your children if you don't. Women with low self-worth, women who believe men. Listen, and you know, part of the thing is I believe that there are far too many Black women who have gotten caught up in bad situations where they didn't know better. They had kids. Okay. Well, after you had the first one, what did you do? What changes in your behavior did you make? What changes in your decision making did you make? How did you switch things up? Childcare in California is on average 1,200 weekly. Can somebody in California confirm this? Can someone in Cali confirm this, because that sounds astronomical. Don't forget about religion. You are a sinner if you get pregnant out of wedlock, and you are a sinner if you terminate the pregnancy. No one ever shames the man. People need to start shaming. I saw a video of a man shaming a man for not taking care of his kids. Somebody says you look like you need to lay down, Tonya. Take it easy. I do need to lay down. I've been taking some vitamin E, garlic, echinacea, turmeric, ginger. I've been doing a lot to care for myself. A lot of men don't actually want to be fathers. Some just want their DNA to continue to roam the earth. And you know what the sad part about is that there's far too many women who are obliging them. There are far too many women obliging them. I do need to rest, and I'm going to get off of here. I'm going to get off of here in just a moment. So let me talk about mitigating factors. Dee says, are you okay? I am. I'm a little under the weather. Going out being a hot girl in the winter with no winter coat, playing myself. We got a call that has just come in. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Brianna. I'm calling from South Carolina.
Hi, Brianna. So talk to us. Are you calling about mitigating factors, or are you calling about having children?
I'm calling about having children.
Okay. Are you the caller? Are you the writer? I am.
No, I'm not. I
Okay.
literally just turned you on. I'm Brianna on here as well. But
Okay. So talk to me. Talk to me? What is your
so I was
comment this
listening
evening?
to
Yeah.
you, and I'm a mother of six. I had my first when I was 13, my second when I was 16, and on and so forth and so on.
Mm.
And I wanted to say that a lot of, for me, what was happening is I was, molested and exposed to a lot of
Of
sexual
course.
activity as a kid, and not, did not have parents that kind of steered me in the direction of don't do this. And there was something that wasn't clicking,
Yeah.
because it was like I was more driven by what my body wanted than the fact that I still had to take care of these children.
Oh, wow.
So
So, are you
whenever,
saying that you had like a high sex drive? Is that what you're saying?
well, I was molested, so I was very promiscuous as
Hold
a
on, hold on,
very
hold
young.
on. Yeah, but hold on. And there's certain words we can't even say on YouTube and these
I know.
platforms anymore. So, the question, the reason why I asked you that question is because you said I was more driven by what my body wanted. So, what is it that your body wanted?
Right. So at that time, because of the prior sexual abuse, because that's what it was, it kind of snowballed. And you know how some people either become promiscuous, or some people just completely turn their back on any type of, sexual activity.
I want to,
Whereas for
yeah,
me,
yeah, I want you to answer the question because because I have a follow-up question. So please answer the question.
I would say yes, even though I was considered a child at that time, though. You know what I mean?
What was it that your body wanted?
Sex.
So I'm saying you had a higher than normal sex drive, is what you're saying.
I would say so, yes.
Okay. So you felt the feelings of being aroused and you wanted to copulate.
Right.
Okay, okay. I was just asking to clarify because I wanted to make the distinction between whether it was what your body wanted or whether or not it was what you felt that you needed emotionally or psychologically or whether you were going through the motions. But you're saying that it invigorated the feelings of arousal, that the abuse invigorated feelings of arousal that then sent you out there wanting intercourse.
Right.
Okay, okay. So please go
And
on.
so as a result, the children kept coming. There wasn't, you know, whatever should go off in your mind to say stop having these kids that you can't take care of
Mm,
wasn't happening. And so, as a result, and in spite of, I did a halfway decent job of raising my children, but of course they had their own set of issues growing up. And at this point, I have like a single moms group that I host, because I really want women to understand that you have to stop, because like you just said, the more you have, the more expensive they get, the more expensive things are for you. My children are all adults now, and they're very successful adults. None of them were teen mothers or teen pregnant, got pregnant as teens. So I am grateful. Mercy was shed upon me, but it's not that easy anymore for women going through these things now, because number one, there's no therapy, there's no getting help for that sexual trauma. So you got a lot of young girls just out here doing the do, making babies, and not being cognizant of, this is a full-time job. You have to take care of these people for
right.
the
So
rest of your life.
question for
Even,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, question for
Mhm.
you because some people in the audience are asking really great questions that I'm also curious about. So if we rewind, you were 13. Who helped you with your first child?
My mom and dad.
Okay. So you had help.
I did.
Okay. And then when 3 years later, you got pregnant again.
Mhm.
What was the conversation your parents had with you? What was who was the father? How old was the father of your when you were 13?
Mhm. He was 27 years old.
Did this person see any jail time? Was he arrested? Did anybody look into this?
My mom didn't. She didn't press any charges. She did not.
What was the conversation like when they found out that you were being abused?
I mean, it's embarrassing, because you know my mom was. sort of the type of person that she was a bit oblivious to what you had going on. I don't think she ever wanted children. And so when I explained to her the very first abuser that was her boyfriend, she just kind of laughed it off like it was no big deal.
So when you say
So
your mom and dad helped you raise the child, who was this person you're considering dad?
that was my step parent, my
Okay.
mom's husband. Hmm.
Okay. And so you said that your mother didn't want to have children. How many children did she end up having?
Just me and my brother, and she had me at 18, and she may have been in her 30s when she had my brother.
Okay. And then
Hmm.
she was taking care of your child um
Hmm.
when you were 13. So what was her demeanor like if you say that she didn't want to have children, but then now she's raising your child?
Well, the thing is, even though I was just 13, I wanted to take responsibility. So the only time um, she didn't have to, the only time she had to be with my daughter was when I was in school, because when I came home, I took her, I made sure she was good. But as far as like the financial aspect and, her clothes, because I was too young to get a job, I was even too young to get welfare because and they wouldn't give my parents welfare for me because my dad was in the military and he made too much money.
Your stepdad?
Yes,
So this was a different person than the person who had abused you.
yes, yes. My
Okay.
stepfather never
And then so what was the
did anything like that.
conversation he had with you about when you got pregnant, when this person impregnated you, and what was the conversation he had with this grown man who was nearly 30?
He did it.
I'm sorry
He
that you
did
were
it.
not protected. I'm sorry. So
And that's exactly it. I was not.
so
That's
then
what it
follow
boiled
up
down to.
though. I'm sure it was not easy having a child at 13.
Right.
And so when you got pregnant again at 16, what was the decision to go full term? What was the rationale behind that?
Believe it or not, I was at the abortion clinic to get an abortion, and the people at the abortion clinic talked me out of it, if you can believe that. I've never heard of such a thing. If I hadn't lived it, I would not. But the daughter that I had, um, she's an amazing person. My first daughter was very troubled and had a lot of issues. And so when my second daughter came along, she was a totally different child, different demeanor. And I can honestly say, when I look back at the choice that I made is to keep her, I have no regrets because she's an amazing person.
Right. And you know what? And
And
listen,
she,
I'm only, listen, every child once they
no,
get
no, no.
here, we're happy
I
that they're
understand
here.
what you're asking. Yeah,
Okay.
I understand what you're asking because I would have let my daughter would have gotten an abortion if it was the second go round and I knew that she had been abused and all that kind of stuff. I would have made sure that I had the correct conversations, and that's what I did. I stopped the cycle with my girls. I talked to them very early on about
Because
sexual abuse, about being
right,
touched, and all these
right.
things. You
So
know.
my question, and I'm glad that you've done that. I'm not
Yeah.
feeling very well, so I want to keep the conversation streamlined.
Yes,
Because I
ma'am.
want to find out about the decision to go full term 6 times. Because having the physical desire to have intercourse is
Mhm.
different than having irresponsible intercourse as well as going full term. These are all very different things. So the decision to go full term, were you able to afford these children?
I was not, and as a result, I had to give two of them up for adoption.
So you had and kept the first two. When did
Hmm.
the two go up for adoption?
At the third and fourth.
Okay. And so my question is, what was the decision to go full term? Like, why? did you had planned on giving them up for adoption?
Well, the thing is, you know, the part the role comes the not the role, but the question also comes in where you're already in this situation, you're pregnant. If you know you don't have money for an abortion because you're looking at $300 to $500 for that. So most of the time it's the decision to go full term is not a decision you necessarily want to do. It's because you know that's you can't do anything else because you can't afford to get the abortion at the time.
What city were you in at the time that they didn't have complimentary Planned Parenthood?
I'm 46, so this is you. We're talking a long time ago. I didn't even know anything of Planned Parenthood back when
Planned
I was having
Parenthood
my
had
children.
the Planned Parent still has sliding scales. They had it back then and they have it now. So when you say that you couldn't afford it, you
Yeah,
know,
I didn't know. I didn't know about Planned. I'm not
did
saying that
did
those
you know what
resources
created
weren't there.
children?
Exactly. And I did know what created children, but it was
Okay.
just an irresponsible, me making irresponsible decisions, very bad choices, because I, again, was more driven by my physical want for sexual activity. And it, like I said, just wasn't clicking. Like it really wasn't clicking. But now that my children are adults, I know where all of them are as far as the adopted kids. I have relationships with them, and it's very tough. So it doesn't end at, oh well, you had 6 kids and they're successful, and you had to do this. Like there's a lot of trauma that has happened with them. Like I'm just now getting to the point where my middle child is accepting of me because she was very angry that I had to give her up for adoption, even though she had a beautiful life, she had great parents. It was, you know, what I'm saying to your audience is if they have young daughters, if they are young women themselves, don't keep doing it, obviously. And if you have a sexual addiction or you have a drive that is pushing you in a way, get some therapy on, because the thing about it is, after the second child, I begged my mom for therapy. I begged her. And we went to the therapy thing, and she told the therapist that she was stopping the therapy because they were making her feel like a bad parent.
Okay. And it sounds like this is still bringing up a lot of pain for you.
Yeah, that part of it does.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that you went through that. And, I'm happy that you have the bravery to open up here publicly and share these words of wisdom with the public. Um, and I appreciate that. I am still curious though, because having the drive and producing human beings are two different things. In those
Mm-hmm.
days, they had people going to the schools doing sex education. They had people coming through talking about how people become pregnant, and this is when they gave sex education back in those days. So I'm curious as to why there was no birth control, why no preventative methods, and why no. I'm trying to get down to the, because at some point this turns into self abuse
Mm-hmm.
where you
And I feel
are.
like that
Mhm.
that is where it was. It was like a self abuse. It really was. And then the other emotional side to that, of course, in hindsight and having gone through therapy, not having that kind of love and protection from your parents, you have this baby, and this baby is like a person that just loves unconditionally. When they
Mhm.
when they come, they're sweet. You know what I mean? So you almost kind of like, and I felt like that was a lot of my issue, is I was addicted to the love that came with those children.
Hmm. That's interesting
So, but I
because
and I yeah, and I don't,
hold on,
of
I
course.
need to survey the audience. I need to survey the audience because if you all think that children are babies are unconditionally loving, please put up the number 1. If you feel that babies are selfish and self-centered and really only care about themselves, put up a number 0. I want to see because you know I
Yeah,
need to
they
see
don't get
the
like that till about
I need
10
to
or 13.
uh, uh, I need go ahead, let's see this survey. If you think that babies are unconditionally loving, put up a number 1. If you feel that they are selfish and self-centered, put up a 0. I need to see what the people say. It's 1 and 0. I don't know where Curry got the number 2 from. Okay, then look. Okay, I see a lot of zeros. I'm curious what you got addicted to because babies are terrors, especially from 0 to 3.5. They're terrors. They're terrors. That is the most unhappy time of a person's life when their child is between 0 and 3. So I need to understand what was going on with these babies that you were birthing. I need to understand. All right, they answered. This it was a ones, zeros, and a bunch of twos. I don't know where the twos came from, but okay. So you say that you became addicted to the hugs and the happiness that babies would show sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I had good babies because and I just I don't know. Even now, as an adult, I don't have any. I have one grandchild, but I don't. I love babies, so
Okay, well, maybe you were seeing
yeah.
something other people just didn't see. These hungry,
Yeah,
crying,
and
screaming.
I'm like I do because
You
like
must have a
I was
different
the mom.
eardrum
Yeah, and
because
I was
children
the mom that
or a
homeschooled and
different
all of that
recollection
too.
because children get colic, children get fussy, children when they can't
Mhm.
sleep, they cry when they're hungry. They're irritable when they get an earache, when they get an ear infection, forget about it. Like, I'm not really sure what it is that you were experiencing unless you have amnesia.
No, I really did enjoy my children and when they were babies. I homeschooled my younger children. Like I loved my babies. I did.
Okay, so people are saying needing and loving are two different things. Someone else said that you
Mhm.
may have been addicted to giving love to them. Now, babies are
Mhm.
very
I'm not.
lovable. You
Yeah.
see their squishy little faces and bodies and you give them love, but whether or not they're actually giving love back, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know. All right. Well, nonetheless. Well, you know what? But then, so how old were you when you gave birth to 5 and 6?
I was in my latter 20s and I had married and that type of thing.
Okay, so at that time you were married, etc. And then what was it that changed your decision making and the types of men you decided to choose? Like with the first four different fathers?
Mm. Um. Yeah. Well, I would say as far as the men, I when I look at that time in my life, I was a child,
Yeah.
and I was a child acting on you know things that were superimposed on me.
Yeah.
At a very young age. It started at about 3. So
Mm.
I don't I don't even look at that as choosing men
Okay.
because I was a child.
Right.
But as an adult, getting married and um, just having a better understanding of how expensive, as beautiful as they are and as sweet as they were back at that time, they become adults and they're not those same sweet little people that they were as you know, children, and because they don't ask to come here, they they've had resentment for me. A lot of
Mm.
my oldest ones, of course, the ones that were adopted have a lot of resentment. But we kind of wade through, and of course, through much therapy, things are much better. But it's
Okay.
just like I said, bad choices, very bad choices, and not
Okay. So,
learning the
but then,
lessons
last
that need to
question
be.
though. Last question. So you
Hmm.
say that you weren't really making choices because you were a child, but even children make choices. You may not have an adult's mind, but you still are making a
Hmm.
choice. So I want to know, what was it that happened, came across? What was it that made you decide to make a different choice in partners?
Um, Therapy. I would say therapy.
When did you start therapy on your own?
I started therapy on my own in my late 20s. In my late 20s.
Okay, so before you
I
got
started.
married.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no,
Okay.
after I got married, actually, because
Okay,
the
so then
marriage was
what was
pretty
it between
crazy.
child 4 and you getting married? What was it that made you choose a different partner, different type of partner? One who was going to be there for the children, one who wanted to get married. What was it between child 4 and getting married?
Um, I can't say that it was anything specific. I just, you know, I met him. He had other children that he cared for, and was a great father. And he also had gone through some things in his own childhood, and he kind of understood my life and the things that I had gone through, and he didn't have as much judgment for me as
Mm,
most people did and do. And
I
so
see.
that's how we
Did he
ended
get
up getting
therapy
married.
as well, or were you just the only one in therapy?
As far as my mom and stuff, is that what you're saying? Or
No,
my
your
husband?
husband. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, he's been through therapy as well. Hmm.
I'm talking about once you started going to therapy, because the young lady who attracted him is going to be a different young lady than the one that goes through therapy. So coming out of
Right.
therapy,
Well,
you're going
we're
to be
not.
a different
Yeah,
person.
we're not together. Yeah, we're not together. So yeah, I
But
definitely was a
he was
different
the
person
father of
coming out of
child 5
therapy.
and 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then
Hmm.
what was it after child 6 that you decided no more?
Um, I just didn't want any more children. We were still together when we made the choice to when I made the choice to have my tube tied. We didn't want any more children, as a unit, as a married couple, and I just didn't want any more children at all.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for calling in and sharing your story. We appreciate hearing your point of view.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I enjoy your show. Still learning a lot of great self-love lessons from your show when
That's
I'm able
wonderful.
to catch you live. So thank
All
you.
right. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So the phone lines are back open, 323-488-3149. I was wondering if I am can call in. I am, where are you? Uh-oh. I am, what happened? Let me, all right. We, let me see. I am not going to call in. I really thought that she would have called in. All right, let's see.
Hello.
You're on the air live with Tanya. What's your name and where you calling from?
My name is Nina. I'm calling from Gibson City, Illinois.
Hi, welcome in, Nina. Are you I am?
No, I'm not. I am not. I am. I'm
Oh,
Nubian Goddess 75 in the comments.
oh, okay. Well, welcome in, Nubian Goddess. So to give us your comment real quick.
Well, I was calling about the mitigating factors.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing us back on track because I forgot to even come back to that. So thank you. So talk to us. Talk to us. What are
So
mitigating
essentially,
factors?
mitigating factors are things that essentially lessen someone's blame or responsibility in a situation, or
Mm-hmm.
criminally culpability in a
Mm-hmm.
situation. Like the last caller, some of her mitigating factors that led her to have all those kids. She might not realize this, but her age, her parents' lack of parenting,
Yes.
those sort of things. That's what mitigating factors are. And I think people need to realize that um, sometimes mitigating factors are what breeds cycles of, poverty, cycles of teen parenting. Like I
Yes.
wonder, the last caller, how old was her mom when she had her? Like if you don't break those cycles by correcting
I
those
think she said her mother was
factors that
18
are
when she
affecting,
had her, and then 31 when she had
see,
the next child, or something along those lines.
seeing 18 is to me young for having a kid. That might not be young
Mm-hmm.
to everyone, but for me that's young for having a kid.
Yeah, it is.
Um, it's, yeah. So I just wanted to add that because you'd asked, and I put a couple comments. I don't think you saw them, but
Mm-hmm.
um, that's what mitigating factors are. And until people actually want to correct them, you're going to keep seeing the same things. There are some that are out of your control. If someone has like a mental disability, that's out of your
Yeah.
control. The age
Yeah.
you are when you experience trauma will affect how you deal with it. That's out of your control. But things
Yeah.
like substance abuse,
Yeah.
remaining in poverty, because you can pull yourself out of poverty, you can work 3 jobs until you get to a better place.
Yeah.
Those things you can't control. And until you want to fix those things, that's how you read these cycles of just not quite nice lives. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Question for you. Can you give us just the general field, and do you work in the social field, the criminal field?
I have a criminal justice degree, but I actually work in municipal government.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so, how do you know about mitigating factors?
I have a criminal justice degree.
Oh, so they taught you that in school.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure how people learned. I thought people learned about it from their work. All right. So while we're
No.
on the
Yeah. I
line,
learned.
I'm
Yeah.
going to just list some mitigating factors that some people may not know about. But being born in a certain zip code is sometimes a mitigating factor for how likely it is that you're going to be sucked into, felonious behavior, whether or not your parent was a teen mom, or whether or not your parents weren't married, or how many people lived in the apartment or- when you were born, if you were in, or how many bedrooms there were, and how many people had to sleep on the floor, on the sofa, or whether or not there wasn't enough food in the house, or things along those lines. Mitigating factors are factors that contribute to why you turned out a certain way, why you became more vulnerable. So there are a lot of different things, and I only know the tip of the iceberg. There are many, 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 many mitigating factors that many of us were born into. And so when we are making these decisions to have children, and we are continuing to do it over and over and over again, knowing that we can't afford it, we're making a decision. In these days and age, and even 20 years ago, nobody, how many, 40, 50, it's been 55 years since Roe v. Wade. People have had choice since then. Oh, Nubian goddess, we
Yeah.
appreciate you
That
calling
is true.
in.
And so
Hmm.
I have 5 children, right? And
Wow.
that sounds like a lot. My marriage is ending, so I'm a single mom at this point. Um, when I had my first one, I couldn't per se afford a child,
Hmm.
but you can make decisions. I worked 2 jobs.
Hmm.
The dad worked 2 jobs. We just made decisions
Yeah.
to make sure we could take care of the child. Some people
Yeah.
don't have the capacity to do that,
Yeah.
um, or they choose not to. I'm not even sure what the issue is. But you have to, family planning isn't always a thing that happens because
Right.
people get pregnant, they aren't planning
Hmm.
it. You can choose to terminate, yes, or you can choose to have the child. But then if you make the decision to have the child, you have the utmost responsibility to do whatever you have to do legally to take care of that child. And some people need to get in that mind space. And I think a lot of people that have kids that don't get in that mind space are too selfish
Mm.
Think about themselves and their wants and their needs and not putting their kids first. And that's the one thing I always do is my kids come first over anybody,
Okay.
over anything. And so that's why it's always been easy for me. I'll work 3 jobs. I'll do what I have to do. But now, I mean, I have a good job, bought my dream house. We're in a safe, small community.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if people want to have children, if someone has a desire to have 20 kids, that's great. Figure out a way to take care of them. Figure out a way to do what you have to do to make sure they're okay.
Yes. So so my statement, I appreciate you sharing that. My statement to you is okay, so a person can get pregnant and then the family planning begins then, but there needs to be some sort of plan like you said.
Yes,
So
there needs to be a plan A, a plan B, and then a backup plan to both those plans.
we'll at least have one plan.
Well,
some
I don't.
people some people
Well,
don't even
I'm
have that.
sorry. Right, but the way I operate, there's 20,000 different plans because I'm paranoid about things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to live. I'm not going to have lights turned off. I'm not going to have water turned off. I'm not going to be homeless. There's just certain.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a vehicle that runs. There's certain things I'm going to have in my life,
Yeah.
and so I always have 20 different plans, and I always have
Yeah.
pots of money. It's just crazy the way I think, but I know not everybody thinks that way. But if we could get folks to just thinking like
Did
you
the
said, at least have a plan.
did the first father did the plan go through? The plan that you all made to work and take care of the child, did he uphold his end of the bargain?
Oh yeah, he did. We the reason we're not together isn't nothing to do with how he's a parent or anything. Is he cheated? I don't do that. So you
Okay.
get one chance on that one, and then you're just gone. So I have this
Yeah, no, I feel
really
you.
good ability to just X people out of my life like they never existed.
Are you a
So
Libra?
I'm an Aquarius.
Aquarius. Okay, I got you. Hey, you know what?
Yeah,
Another call is coming in, Nubian Goddess. So let me grab this. Okay. Thank you for calling in.
good thing. All right,
All right,
bye.
bye bye. You're in the air live with Tanya TKO. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hi, yes, my name is Tonya. I'm calling from Michigan.
Hi, Tanya. Are you I am?
Huh? No, I'm not.
You're not? What happened to I am?
No.
She came in fast and furious and then she never called in. And I opened up the phone lines. I'm turning them back off now. All right, Tanya, go ahead. You're
Uh-oh.
going to be the last caller.
Okay, so I just I hear everyone, and yes, children are beautiful, and beautiful that you have children. But if I could reverse the process in which I had my children, I would have did totally different.
What do you mean reverse?
Period.
You mean
Well,
the
in the
children
way,
turn
the
back
order
into
that
eggs and go back
how I
up?
went about having
Oh,
them.
okay.
Like, being aware I was young, that's not an excuse. We had, we had the sex ed in school and different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah,
made just poor decisions. They
yeah.
had fathers. My children have their dads. So it's not like they didn't have a good support system or things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it was so many things that I would have done further had I just used my mind, paid attention, and just waited and
How
used
old were
those
you when you had your
options.
first child?
Ooh, 14.
Okay. Wait, what? Oh, my Lord. How old was the father?
He was turning 18.
Oh my Lord. How did this relationship even take place?
It We were at summer school together. I was going into high school. He was already in high school, so we met through mutual friends and just, being being,
No.
promiscuous. He was my
H-
he was
But
my
how can
first,
how
but
can you how
still.
can you call yourself promiscuous at 14?
I don't know. I don't really know what other words terms to say it, but it happened, and he was my first.
I
He
know, but
was
then
my
I'm
first.
curious as to why you're calling yourself promiscuous. First sexual
Well, I don't.
encounter.
That's the wrong. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's the wrong
No,
term
because a lot
to
of
say
because a lot of
promiscuous.
people use terms like that. Oh, she was fast. But he was
Mhm. And
an
that's
18-year-old
where it
mind and a
comes from.
14-year-old mind are very different.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh
So I
yes.
don't know why you're
Very much
talking
so.
about you were promiscuous. This young man took advantage of you. You were a child.
Yes.
14
Very
is
much so.
eighth grade going into ninth.
Yes. That's exactly what I was, and he was graduating that year.
Going into
That
college?
year, next year. So. No, he was getting ready to graduate from high school
That's what I'm saying, going
that
into
year.
college.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, he did. He did.
Yeah.
He absolutely did.
So
I
he
had
knew that
two
he
with
was
him.
wrong.
So, but yeah, by the time I was 17, I was 16, I was pregnant again, and he still wanted to, I don't know, live his life. And at this point, I told him, I cut it off, and I just ended it with him. And I told him, you think this is a game, and this changed my life. You are continuing to do what you want, although you're a provider, you there, you love them, all of those things. But
Oh, so he
I
never went to
have to stop
college.
this. Huh?
So he never went to college.
No, he went into their family business, so he didn't go to college.
Oh, okay,
Their
okay,
family already had a business, so he just went into the family business, excuse me.
okay.
And so that's what he chose to do, just to go into the family business and everything. And he provided. He was a provider, took care of
Yeah.
my children, all of those things. But
What did his
at,
parents
I,
say
at
about all of this? And what did your parents say? Because I know you
whew,
had the conversation with him, but what were the adults in the situation behind the scenes? What were they saying?
so when I found out, my mother, the lady, actually, when we found out, we went to a Planned Parenthood clinic,
Mhm.
and my mom, they gave me a pregnancy test, which I already knew I was pregnant, and gave the pregnancy test, and the lady said, so when can we schedule the abortion? And my mom said, what abortion? She's not having an abortion. We're going to take care of this baby.
And so did your mother care for the baby?
I mean, she was there. Oh, yeah, my mom was a grandma. She was there. Yeah, my mom was there. I mean, I went to
Okay.
school.
And what was the
They alternated.
conversation though? What was the conversation about a 14-year-old getting pregnant by an 18-year-old? What was that
Nothing,
conversation?
no,
Nothing?
nothing, nothing, not a word, not a word.
Did she talk to you about birth control?
Never. My mom never talked to me about any type of sex education. I didn't even know. I didn't even know when I got my menstrual cycle what it was. My best friend's mom had to tell me what it was. My mom had absolutely no conversations with me.
How old
And
was your
I
mother when she
told
gave
myself,
birth?
my mother was 26 when she gave birth
So your
to
mother
me.
was grown, or she was an
Mhm.
adult when she gave
Yeah.
birth to you. I just don't
Yes.
understand it. And so I
Nope.
just don't understand it.
Yes.
How many
And
children do
then
you have now?
I have a total of three.
So you have three children. So the first two by this guy, and he was continuing to live his life. And you were like, look, you're able to
Mhm.
do all the things, but you learned pretty early on that a child, even though your mother was helping, some of your mobility was taken away by having a
Yes.
child.
I literally went from being a child to being a mother, an adult, and that is so unfair to
Mm.
that was just, and I look at it, and I'm in therapy. Everything I look at it like it's just so unfair to myself, to my life.
Mm.
I had to make, and I try to explain this. I had to make decisions based on not just me being a carefree teenager, still riding a bike. No, I had a baby and a stroller.
Oh, wow.
I'm
It's
changing
hard to push a
diapers. It's not
stroller
a
on a
toy,
bicycle. Yeah, yeah.
and then turn around and I get pregnant again, and
But
then
what, but
you're
see,
all happy and excited.
but where were his parents? So his parents, they owned a family business. What were they saying about these
Hmm.
pregnancies that their son was creating with a child?
Well, with the first one, literally his mother did not know until after my son was born and here 6 weeks he hid it.
So
And when I
so your
told him I'm
parents never had a meeting with his parents, nothing? Oh my
not
goodness,
in,
I'm
nope,
so
not
sorry to
in the
hear this.
beginning, nope, yep.
Mm.
And so they didn't learn about my first son, our first son, until I brung him, and he was 6 weeks old. And then because they told him that he better not have a baby before he finished with school. Well, his mother and father weren't together, like his dad was somewhere else, but he had a father and a mother like active in his life. But his mother was a teen mother. And me and her, we were fine. She said, "Why didn't you call me?" And I said, "That wasn't my responsibility to call you. That was your son's responsibility." I didn't know any of that. And of course, they took my son in and loving the whole family and all of those great things. But it doesn't matter. Then I get pregnant again with baby number two. Yet again, my mother didn't say anything, but well, at least it's by the same guy.
I'm curious as to why his family wasn't caring for this child if they loved the baby so much and they knew that you
Oh,
were a
they were
baby
caring.
yourself. I mean, why didn't they
Yes,
take the child and care for the child?
they mostly had him majority of the time. My first
Oh,
son, because I was young, they had him majority of the time. Oh no, they had him. They were active. Like everybody was active in helping with him on his side, from his mother's side to his father's side.
so then your
Everybody,
statement is a
grandmother,
little
everybody.
curious then because you said to him when you got pregnant the second time, you said your life is not changing and here I am, my whole life has changed and XYZ, but his life changed too because his parents were caring for the baby, no?
Yeah, I mean his life changed, but in that aspect, but nothing else he did. He still, wanted to be a young man and do all the carefree things because they were the ones really watching the baby. He was, they allowed him to have his, like they said, well, he's still young, and we're gonna let him have his time, and he's the active part, like all of those types of different situations and scenarios. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm still the one that my life changed. Society looked at me differently. People looked at me differently.
Yeah, but your
I'm a high
responsibility didn't
schooler.
really change very much if his parents had the child most of the time. How did your life, how did your day-to-day activity really change if his parents were the ones mainly raising the
Well,
child?
when I had school, well, his mom watched him when I went to school. Weekends, I had him, but I still went to see my son. I still had to do my schoolwork and still be there, present as much as possible. It was a 50-50. Everybody helped out, everybody pitched in, but to me, I just lost. That's how I feel. He carried on like it was nothing, you know. And
Did he
then, like
live
I
with
said,
his
then here's
parents?
baby number two. Hmm?
Did he live with his parents?
Um, yes,
Okay. And his parents did
he
not make
lived with
sure
his
that he
mom.
had child raising responsibilities since the baby was there Monday to Friday?
No, no, mm-mm, mm-mm. No, no. His mother
Okay.
didn't, because his mom and dad were separated. So then, and
I
then his
see.
dad passed away when my son was like 3 months old.
Okay.
So his dad ended up passing away. But his mom, no, she took on the responsibility, and his little brother. My son used to be with his little brother, because me and his little brother was the same age, and he was kind of at home, so he was the one. So he, ran the street, did this, did those things.
I thought
He
he was
did
supposed to be in
everything.
school. You said that he was not
No,
supposed to have
who?
children until he
No,
finished
he went to
school,
the
but they were
family
talking about
vision.
high school?
Right? Yeah, they were talking about high school.
Ugh, okay. What was this family
So that's
business?
why
A
he
car
hid.
wash?
No, they own rental properties.
Oh, okay. So they had rental
So
property.
so,
I see.
yeah,
I
so
see.
fix them
Well,
up. It's
at least you had a person whose family cared for the child and that they were the primary
yeah.
caregivers for the child for how long? Up until when and then when did you, become the primary caregiver for the children?
Up until I got married, I was in college. So my youngest son was about 8. and my oldest son was 8, and my daughter was 5. And then that's when they went to school by me. You know, I got married. Then I had my youngest son at that time.
Wait, hold
And
on, hold on, hold on. You got married when you were 19?
I know I got married at 21.
So after you got married is when they gave you the children?
Basically, right. And that's when I took on, like, they were with me Monday through Friday, and then he had them weekends and holidays.
Okay. So, okay. All right. So how I'm curious as to how you all created the second child. Were you two still dating even though he was just out there running the streets and
Yes, he came back with that. You know, you have that romantic hope that, oh, he's gonna do right this time. He's gonna be there. He's making all these promises. And I had just switched my birth control, and then that's how I got pregnant.
oh, so you were on birth control. This is very interesting. I see that in a lot of these
I was on
situations
birth
that
control.
there was a failure of the parents to really educate children as well as
Yes,
hold the boys accountable for the children that they were
yes,
creating or the men in
yes,
one case.
yes,
Okay.
most definitely. And it went on to, I mean, like, we carried on like that. Yeah, my kids lived with them at one point, but then he couldn't. My daughter was too much, so she had to come back home, which was fine. And then but
Wait, what do you mean
he
your
he had a
children lived with him
history.
at some point? When did they live with him?
They were like, he always said when my son turned 14, he wanted to take them. So when my son turned 14, he went to live with them. Then he got this grand idea that, oh, I can, I'll just take both of them. And so my daughter was at that age. She was about 12, and he realized it's not his little bitty, oh, my sweet princess and things like that. So she had to come back home that next year. And then my son stayed with him until he was 18, no, 17, when he graduated from high school.
Okay, so from 0 to 8, your son lived with the grandparents. From 8 to
Basically.
14,
Yeah.
he lived with you. From 14
Yes.
till graduation, he lived with the father.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it
Yes.
sounds as if you had a support system, and so I'm happy that you were able to be supported in that way because having a child at 14 is not easy. Were his parents black? Is this a black man?
He's mixed. His mom's black. His dad was
And
white.
the father was white? Interesting. Interesting,
Yeah, and his dad
interesting,
was white.
interesting.
And they were
Hmm.
totally involved in my kids, like that whole side of family and everything. Like they did. I actually had more support with that side of the family than I had with my husband side of the family.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
that's
You and the husband are no longer
crazy.
together?
Yeah. No, we're still together. No, not
Oh,
my husband. He's fine. I'm saying, like,
but you
like,
just had more
just have like
support
grandma and
because you had
things
a
like that.
child with him and
Right.
you said that the other family was more supportive, so I thought maybe there was some issue. All right. Well, you know what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tanya, thank you for sharing your story with us. It was an interesting story indeed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, what is the takeaway for everyone? Thank you, Tanya. We'll talk to you another time. Thank you. All right. So this is very interesting. We never got to hear from I am who created the original statement, but whew, I am glad that we came out to make this video. What is the self-love lesson that many of you have learned from today's video? Because these videos are all about self-love. Talk to me. What is the self-love lesson what is the self-love lesson? Here, let's see. Type SOL and let's see what the self-love lesson is, and then we'll go from there. So, woo, I'm tired, y'all. I can't wait to go lay down. I'm sorry, Zanetti, I cannot. I am at my wit's end. You see, I've already taken off my makeup. I'm getting ready to go take a hot shower with some peppermint, and then I'm gonna go lay down in the bed. We've been on this broadcast for 1 hour and 20 minutes. The number was across the screen, wasn't it? Was the number not across the screen this whole time? The number was on the screen, wasn't it? Unless it wasn't, I don't know. I thought it was on the screen. I don't know what to say. All right, so we can pick up this conversation another time. Should have been the first person to call in. She wasn't. I cannot be on here anymore. I have a headache. All right. So come on, self-love lesson. Let's see. I saw one. Teach kids to say no to sex before they can support. But you know what? But the thing is that so many of these parents were not talking to their children. Learn to recognize what you can do to change your circumstances. Yes, SLL plan. We have to do better within our community as a whole. All right. Make sure, give grace. Don't expect children to behave as an adult. No. Nitra is saying the number wasn't on the screen. How many people? Look, I don't really know what to say. I don't know what to say. The number is the same number throughout all of the broadcasts. And if people ask, there are people in the comments who know the number. My admins know the number. I really don't know what to say. Says, sorry, I was making my kids dinner. So she made a choice. You know what I mean? The number was on the screen. She could have written the number down. I really don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Empathy is a muscle that needs to be constantly worked for those who lack exposure to trauma. Yeah, SLO, control your body, love your babies, or they will go out searching for the love they miss. Yeah, educate early, often, and repeatedly. Yeah. Yep. Teach your children about sex and contraception. What is the self-love lesson that I learned from today's video? The self-love lesson that I learned from today's video is that despite how badly you want to talk with a person, that you have to love yourself enough to know when to say, I'm sorry, I just can't. I really would love to have spoken to I. However, she made a choice in the very beginning of the broadcast not to be the first person to call in, and therefore other calls came in, and I took calls. We are 1.5 hours into this broadcast, and I'm going to take care of myself right now because I'm not feeling 100%. Okay? I will see you all in the next video. Tonya TKO, and I am out. I also learned in this video that the problem with people who are having multiple children irresponsibly is that the problem is cyclical, that stems from how they were parented, how their parents were parented, as well as, perception. Some people perceive having children as being easy, and they forget the hard work that's involved with having children. And therefore, they continue to have children. I don't know what else to say. Because if the experience that you are having, right, is that it's easy, then how are you going to make a different decision? You know what I mean? All right, I'll see you all next time.